Tuesday, the January 6th committee held a last-minute surprise public hearing, and to call it a bombshell, I think some would say we're underselling it.
That's right. The hearing featured key testimony from Cassidy Hutchinson, a 26-year-old former top aide to Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows. And here to discuss is a member of the House committee investigating January 6th, California Congressman Adam Schiff. Congressman Schiff, thanks for being with us. Yes, we have heard a lot of shocking and disturbing testimony coming out of these hearings, but yesterday's, many would say, was at a whole new level. How would you describe the reaction to hearing what Cassidy Hutchinson had to say yesterday in her sworn testimony?
Well, it was shocking, and I found most difficult to believe, but only because it is so shocking. The president on the Mall, there he is being told that these participants in the mob don't want to go through the magnetometers, not because there's a wait, but because they'll have to take their weapons away. And the president's response is, take the magnetometers down. Take the magnetometers down. They're not here to hurt me. These are my people. Let them in. And he wants to march with this armed crowd to the Capitol. To me, that's the most powerful evidence we have yet of the president's knowledge that the crowd was armed, his willingness to bring that armed mob to the Capitol and incite what followed. So, very credible witness, very powerful testimony, and shocking at the same time.
Congressman, can you give us more insight into how this happened? You didn't have a hearing, a public hearing scheduled for this week, and this witness is someone you all are aware of, but then apparently new information that you all wanted to get out in a hurry.
Well, we thought it was important to get this information before the American people, to let them know exactly the new information that we were gathering, but also to push back against the potential intimidation of witnesses. We want to let people know that may be signaling or trying to influence witness testimony, that we take that very seriously, that we will confront that, and if necessary, we will refer any kind of intimidation to the Justice Department. We also want to be able to use this information to encourage other witnesses to come forward. And that was also an important part of our calculus in moving up this witness's testimony to yesterday. And
Congressman, one of the many disturbing claims Hutchinson made yesterday was what happened in that vehicle, in the presidential vehicle with the Secret Service agent. I know that there has been some pushback. We know that Trump has disputed those claims, that he lunged at the Secret Service agent, that he maybe even grabbed the steering wheel. I know you've had some private testimony taking place. What do you make of the pushback, and is there any way to corroborate what Hutchinson testified to?
Well, look, anyone that wants to come in and testify under oath about any of these incidents, we welcome their testimony. I found Cassidy Hutchinson to be a very credible witness. Speaking as a former prosecutor, she was very careful to tell us what she knew. She was very careful to tell us what she was present for and witnessed. She was careful to tell us what she heard and to tell us what she didn't know. And I find that very strong indicia of the reliability of a witness. So I found her very credible. Anyone who wants to take issue with anything she said should come in and testify to us under oath.
And Congressman, there's been back and forth, and some think you all not necessarily there to refer criminal charges to the Justice Department for former President Trump. But did you hear anything yesterday that made things rise to an even higher level of maybe something that took place on January 6th that gets you closer to thinking that President Trump did in fact commit crimes, and you now have testimony that's closer to being evidence of that?
Well, even before this testimony, I agreed with the judge in California, the federal judge in California, that there was evidence that the former president was engaged in likely multiple criminal acts, acts that violated our criminal laws. But yesterday, I think the Justice Department heard, as we did, testimony of the president's knowledge of the fact that the crowd was armed. His interest in taking down the magnetometers, as I mentioned, to let that armed crowd go with their weapons to the Capitol, his eagerness to march with them to the Capitol. This is all important evidence, I believe, that goes to his knowledge, his intent, his culpability, his mental state. So I'm sure the Justice Department was watching carefully. Whether they think there's sufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt will be a decision they have to make. But I do think there's certainly sufficient evidence that warrants an investigation into the former president.
And Congressman, finally, we heard you mention potential witness intimidation. We also heard from Congresswoman Liz Cheney referencing the same thing in her closing remarks. Is there any proof, any evidence of that having actually occurred?
Well, look, I think the issue of witness intimidation is a very serious one, and we have seen it in other investigations in the past. You'll remember that Donald Trump was tweeting at attacking Ambassador Marie Yovanovitch in the middle of her testimony. Just last week, we saw the president issue a statement attacking Republican Arizona Speaker Rusty Bowers just before his testimony. And if other of the former president's enablers are also contacting witnesses to try to influence their testimony, that is a very serious problem. And we'll be discussing as a committee what we should do in any particular case.
Well, Congressman Schiff, I know you got more work to do, important work certainly, and Americans are watching. So thank you so much for spending a little time with us, and I'm sure we'll see you again, all right?
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.